Imagine you're 75 years old, with a successful career behind you. Would you retire to a life of leisure, or start a new company using cutting-edge AI technology? We interviewed Sonja Kohn, founder of BestFit, and known as the Viennese of Wall Street, to learn more about entrepreneurship at any age and innovating in customer engagement. This episode is part of a series of 12 interviews, brought to you by the Engage Institute and The Broker. Join me as we delve deeper into today's topic with Sonja Kohn. I'm Philip, co-founder of the Engage Institute. We empower your employees and clients, thanks to engaging insurance training, such as expert interviews. Grow trusted advisors with us.
Today on the show, I had the great pleasure to welcome Sonja Kohn. Hi Sonja, how are you doing?
Thank you. Great.
I'm excited to having a nice chat with you. Sonja, you've been named the Viennese of Wall Street. You come from Austria, you have founded several successful companies together with UniCredit Bank, Austria's largest bank, and you basically have a long career as a successful entrepreneur. Could you let us know, how did you come to that?
I think it's hard work. Do more than you promise and do it in time. And creativity and innovation. Trying to find market niches, trying to find answers to problems.
Trying to find answers to problems. As a serial entrepreneur, you're also 75 years old, if you don't mind me saying this. You still ski? You still go in the mountains?
I ski, that's a little bit more fun. So do I.
So, how do you come to have still this appetite for creating companies, while you could certainly say, well, look, I've had a very successful career, now I just go and ski?
I enjoy enormously what I'm doing. I do enjoy it more than skiing. I have no concept of retirement. I don't know what people do with that. Perhaps it's not totally fair to say, because it may be different for people who do physical work, which I've never been doing, as fooding in the house. But I think the world needs innovation, and if God has given someone the talents to contribute to the business world, to the well-being of people, to the well-being of customers, then it would be a waste not to use it.
The retirement in your case, when you don't do a physical work, you never thought you would ever retire. You would always keep building something new.
Well, I very much hope that God gives me the physical and mental health to do so. But if that is the case, absolutely yes.
Wow. So what drives you to keep funding new companies?
I don't know. I mean, it just comes very natural. And I think one of the ingredients of success is that you don't try to be someone else. You don't try to do something which just is a fashion. You try to be yourself and then work hard on the talents you have been granted.
You try to be yourself. Who are you actually?
Well, I'm a grandmother, happily married for 57 years with 5 kids, 40 grandchildren and 40 great-grandchildren. And I think this is my biggest achievement. Many women believe, and I think it's a very big mistake, that you can't combine career or... I don't have a concept to the word career, actually. I'm just making business. Career sounds like this is a priority in life. My priority in life is to take care of my family. But I think you have the opportunity to do things which business needs. I have never tried to invent the next wheel. I'm just trying to very carefully observe environments in the business world, especially now digital transformation, the changes, which that means to our business, to the interaction between companies and their clients, and see where there is place for improvement.
Could we just go back 1 second? It's very interesting what you said before. It was not career versus the family, but you managed to do both of them successfully. Would you have any advice, or how did you do it on yourself?
You have to have good nerves. You have to be organized. Most importantly, you need a husband to cooperate. And I never wanted to have a daughter-in-law who is working. I mean, it's just bloody hard. But it's as well very rewarding and beautiful. I think a happy family gives you a huge amount of energy. So I'm asking myself, someone who comes back into the empty home, how do he recharge his energy batteries. And I think a happy family recharges energy batteries.
So you were recharging these batteries. So you have a whole day at work. You create one of the largest vans in Austria, right? Then you go home and you have up to 5 kids. Is that really a way of recharging the battery?
Yes.
Yes. Wow. Okay. That's impressive. Speaking about kids, your newest baby is actually a company called BestFit. So what is that company doing actually?
To live up to its name, which means provide companies with the best fit for each of their potential clients or clients. So observes the market. A good salesman observes his client, how he's dressed, how he moves his hands, how he reacts. All of that input is missing in digital interface. And it's still the same people which are making decisions, which push the buttons, which click the mouse. And the company really doesn't know anything about them, but the navigation, their past transactions, the product they have bought. But we want to help companies understand the decision drivers of people, their preferences. And we believe strongly, and our business, thanks to the feedback of our clients, has proven that we are able to improve engagement, customer loyalty, and sales.
Do you basically do some kind of profiling through technology, so mass profiling?
Well, I'm not fond of the word profiling because it has been used in many ways. What we are trying to do is, I call it, design the emotional DNA of people. So understand again their reactions, their emotions. Let me give you an example. Certain people make their decisions very rationally. To answer their questions, a term sheet, a competitor analysis, a price list would be the right thing. Other people make their decisions very emotionally. So if you send them some numbers, it's not going to do anything for them. They want to see a short video of a happy client, a testimonial. If you're looking at Professor Kahneman, who is actually the guru of behavioral economics, he has said people react differently to different arguments. So the same argument will be very convincing for one person and very disruptive for another person.
How do you really know which arguments to put in front of me to convince me?
Well, you are asking that question in the wrong environment because I see you and we have spoken a lot of long times together. Digital interactions take seconds without that people see each other and speak to each other. So what we have developed together with a team of academics, including based on the research of Nobel Prize winners, which I have the privilege to some of them know personally. Professor Vernon Smith, he made the Nobel Prize together with Daniel Kahneman. Professor Aumann, he got the Nobel Prize for gaming theory, and gaming theory is all about how do you make decisions. So what we have developed are fun indirect questions. And indirect here is a very important factor because if you ask people a direct question, the answer may be different from where the question is coming from. If the question is coming from a friend whom you want to impress and you say, what do you do in the holidays? So it may be, I'm flying here, I'm flying there, I'm taking a boat. If the guy's looking for a credit line in the bank, he will put on a very serious face. Well, I'm working, I'm making sure that I fix my home. So when we are asking questions like, you get an invitation to the moon, what's your reaction? Great, when are we going? I have to think about it. No, thank you, I'd rather live. So basically what we have developed are over 35 information categories, which a company can pick from. So one company may be interested in price sensitivity of a person, their curiosity. Why is curiosity for business important? Because it gives the company a feeling how often they can make new offers if the people are open to new inventions. Another example is sophistication, an insurance company. Someone is sophisticated, he expects the insurance company to give a very professional description. If someone has made it to be a millionaire without ever passing through university, and you give him a lot of numbers, he will just be confused. What he wants is a very simple, short explanation. Anything which has to do with change of behavior. If you're going into the health sector, let me give you an example of diabetes. 90% of people who have diabetes, if they eat correctly and they take their medicine, can have a happy, long life. Statistically, more than half of the people don't take the medicine properly and don't behave properly. So to convince people to change their behavior, one needs rational arguments, the other emotional arguments. So we are trying to give people the missing human factor.
How do you manage to get this information? Do you say to the person, look, you want to get a loan from the bank? Please answer this question. So I want an insurance cover for this or that.
And first of all, it's not we who are asking, but we give the companies a platform to ask. So what BestFit is, it's a generative AI platform, which is being developed based on the needs of an insurance company, of a bank. Zurich Insurance Company is for 2.5 years a client of ours. We have done things for Allianz, Wüstenrot, Maccabi Health. On this platform, we program these fun indirect questions, which I've made, and it is basically gamified. So the people see images which are animated and questions, and they choose answers. Behind each answer, they choose, there is an algorithmic value. In general, for each information category, we are asking 3 questions. With 10 questions, we can give an insurance company the information as a sample about the sophistication of the person, his risk appetite, and his decision style. And the 10th question is about certain interests, which we have for the confirmation. So at the end of this digital journey, the platform produces instantly a personality profile for the person who is answering. So
within very short time, you actually really start to know what makes a person tick. Is it that they have to fill in a form when they apply for a loan? When do they see these questions?
Let me give you a few samples. Like one insurance company who wanted to sell travel insurance was saying, which is like you? 90 seconds based on Nobel Prize winning research, you get the answer. So it's always a fun invitation which can be sent out by the company with email, SMS, it can be part of a newsletter, it can be a pop-up on the web.
A while ago, when we were preparing this interview, you told me a little story. You got an email at some point proposing to you to get some walkers or alarm buttons while you actually are very fit and you can even ski. What was your reaction to that?
The company is a mess.
That's quite short. Okay. So that's what the kind of things you try to avoid is basically companies to propose things to potential clients while they would certainly not be interested in. One thing I would like to know, you mentioned you have 2 Nobel Prize winners in your team. How did you get to know them?
I was introduced to them. Age has as well advantages. Over the years, you make friends. You keep the friends if you work hard and do what you say you do. And they introduce you to people. So I was introduced to one of the Nobel Prize winners through a professor with whom I had done some work together, and the other through a client. That's networking.
I've never been introduced to a Nobel Prize winner.
I have never been introduced to many people you were introduced to.
One quick question. Can a startup use your product?
If they have money to pay for it, yes.
How much are we talking about?
It very much depends on the project. So companies like insurance companies pay for the complete personalization. So their look and feel, their style of communication, the interest categories they are interested in. And one of the things which is very important, there's some technology inbuilt in our platform that we give to our clients a URL where they add the identifier. So what you would say technically, we are completely GDPR compliant. We deliver the information to our customers with a number. They know who this number is, we don't. So it's a sophisticated process, and the development is close to 50,000 euro. On the other hand, we have done for instance, Inter, the football club in Italy. They were sending out the questionnaire to 300,000 of their fans. We made a deal with them that they pay just €5 for each profile we deliver instead of a development cost. But we know our completion rates are between 82 and 97%. And we know what
That was a good deal.
It was still a very good deal. I mean, they would have been much cheaper off to pay a price. So we are flexible. We are not McKinsey, unfortunately. So our prices are decent. We work with the clients. If there is less adoption, it's a slow price, and then there are monthly usage fees.
When we prepared the interview, I was quite impressed. I mean, as mentioned, you're 75, and then we started speaking about AI, Web3, Metaverse. What's your take on AI? What do you think of ChatGPT, and how do you use it?
I think, like most of the things in the world, it has advantages and disadvantages. It's a huge game changer for businesses, for jobs, for employment, for education, universities, and so on. We are using ChatGPT in a very specific way. At the end of this 90-second digital journey, we have built an interface to ChatGPT-4 where we communicate to the interface always in an anonymous way the characteristics of the person, which just now has answered 10 or 9 or 15 questions. This is its degree of sophistication, this is his price sensitivity, this is his decision style. So we send a prompt with the characteristics of the person, the language we want the text in, the length of the text, and the purpose of the text. So for an example, this insurance company wants to sell health insurance to a person who is, and then the information comes, use in English 50 words. And what this resides in is instant hyper-personalization. So at the end of the 90 seconds, the person will get a charming call to action.
I love the fact that you're technical. That's amazing. Keep going.
That's a new dimension in business.
So that's on ChatGPT. Did you write the prompts yourself?
No, I'm a business person.
Just checking. Just checking. I would not have been surprised.
It's the employees of BestFit who did it, but not me.
Okay. Metaverse. How would you use your system in a metaverse? And actually, when will the metaverse, according to you, be usable for our daily lives?
I think the metaverse, again, will become a success. And I don't think I have to say everyone is aware of it, that it hasn't yet taken off. Once it is not abstract and in the middle of the universe, but once it is a virtual shop, something which improves the digital experience. And we are not yet there. So I haven't seen any metaverses which have been successfully integrated in day-to-day businesses. I think like the video on 3Ds, great innovation has still to find the business case. And I think this is another strength of BestFit. Because if you looked at the takeaway today of generative AI, everyone speaks about it. Everyone thinks it's great. There are very few companies who have found simple, easy, day-to-day use cases. And this is another thing I credit my team for, that we have been able to do that.
On another tech, Web3 blockchain, do you have any Bitcoins or ETH, if I may?
No.
No, you didn't want any.
I'm from the old school. I think for everything if you look at it like a fashion item, like casino, like trying something new and money to invest, which you don't need for your daily expenses, I think it's great. It's a great entertainment. I don't have time. I'm or with my family or I'm working. So I don't need it as a research project to invest in coins. And I don't look at it as a savings building product. I do think what disturbs me, and I'll be very specific about that, I have as well a banking background, not only a IT background. And for me, I need a counterparty, which I can call, which can be sued. I have never sued in my life anyone. But where if something doesn't work, I know whose head is on the table. And with Bitcoin, I was invited, we were in Zurich at a round table with like 40 people, bankers, investors, whatever, serious crowd. And the guest speaker was the president of the Swiss Bitcoin Association. So that was a few years ago, so I'm not trying to criticize today's. And someone asked him, who appointed you? And the answer was, I myself. And it's hard for a person my age, and as I mentioned, age's advantage and disadvantage, to put serious money into something where if something goes wrong, pull your cord.
And there can be substantial risk, of course, decentralized by nature. Speaking about risk, how do you manage risk? As a banker, what is your way of looking at risk in life?
I think it depends now if it's financial risk, health risk, but let me address financial risk and business risk. Financial risk is diversification. I do think never put all your eggs in one basket. I do believe that there are, interestingly enough, 2 times in a life when you can take a lot of risk. One is if you don't have anything to lose at the beginning. And one thing, when you have enough money, that losing money wouldn't really affect your lifestyle. So that is how I look at risk. In the middle, you diversify based on your goals, based on your business, and so on. Business risk, actually being thoughtful. How did BestFit come to happen? BlackRock bought in 2015 Future Advisors for $150 million. And my team in Vienna is working for me since 1998. And when I have a certain ideas, I tell them to look at players in this field. Take a white piece of paper and make 3 columns. Analyze a company and say, they really do this great. I like it. The next column is, this doesn't work, weird, I don't like it. And then I get the paper and there's one column which basically says, why the hell is no one doing that? And that's where I'm trying to build my business case. So you have to think before you do it. You have to work hard. You have to look at entering into a business that failure is not an option. The question is how and when success will happen. So that's just a few thoughts.
Okay. And as a bank, for our viewers to understand this, what kind of insurance does a bank need actually?
First of all, that's a really Lloyd's question. Lloyd's of London. I'm not sure that I'm the best qualified to answer that question. I think it needs multi-level insurance. The first insurance, it needs a good compliance office. It needs a good HR. Warren Buffett used to say, the biggest risk in business is human behavior. That holds for banks and for insurance companies. You have exceptions like a hurricane or disasters, which are natural disasters. But for the rest, it's human behavior. For a bank, you need smart, responsible people to run it. You have to have, naturally, the insurances against fraud. You need the compliance department, which is smart. I don't think you can be successful in anything, not in life, not in business, not in a marriage, without having a kind of sixth sense. I am fortunate enough to know many people who are successful. And I was trying to explain my kids that every one of these people has a different set of talents. One is enormous hardworking. One has just an IQ above everyone else. But there are certain characteristics all of these people have in common. They are hardworking, they are optimists, and they have good nerve. Because there's no business which just goes straight up without any hookups, without any challenges. And you have the optimism and the strength to meet challenges.
You need to be optimistic and work hard. If you look at the ecosystem where we are now, the European Union, may I know what you think about the European Union, the path it's taking, how it's been evolving in all these years? Is it important to you?
Having a big family and always have a very, very active business, I actually leave politics to my husband. I'm trying to focus on the things I can have a certain influence on. And politics, I for sure couldn't have an influence on. So yes, I do have an opinion. I'm an extremely strong believer of individualism, as you have understood. For me, every person is a world, every person is different, and every person to serve him well, to do the best for him. I think if a customer is happy, the company will be happy. I think you have to avoid in businesses conflicts of interests. That's extremely important. And I do think that the European Union has a lot of advantages, but it as well tries to put the same frame and the same kind of rules on all the countries. And you're taking an Italian from Milan and Italian from Sicily, and they are already different. So again, advantages and disadvantages.
Could maybe a system like Switzerland with this kind of federal system be of advantage? That would be a question too. We're getting close to the end of our nice discussion, Sonja. Maybe on a more personal note, is there something in life that you would be very, very proud of?
It's just my family. Business-wise, there's nothing to be proud about. I'm thankful to the opportunity God and my business partners and the world gave me. I'm extremely happy that I could manage work and family, but I think humility is as well one of the ingredients of success, and I'm trying not to forget that.
I like that one. One of the last questions, if you look at one of your toughest times in your life, do you have any tips on how to recover, how to keep optimism, how to reconnect happiness in a way?
Good conscience. You know, sometimes when people don't call someone back or you write a letter, you don't get an answer, right? So people get upset. And I am not getting upset. I don't have a bad conscience and I don't have an inferiority complex. And the other guy was just too busy.
That didn't strike me either.
So I do think that to get out of difficult things is a good conscience, strength and discipline. And focus, knowing to sort priorities, and sometimes in life you have to resort your priorities.
Sonja, is there any question I should have asked you?
You haven't asked me what I did between the joint venture with Bank Austria and BestFit. And I think it has been an interesting path, which actually led from finance to technology. And in the middle, there was financial services technology. So I did build for Intesa San Paolo as a shareholder and as a chairman a company called FundsWorld, which was the first form for the distribution of mutual funds. In a time where each bank only had products in their own currencies, self-made, it was the first open distribution platform in Europe. If someone tries to understand, that was an interesting middle piece.
Thanks for enhancing this interview. Sonja, it's been a great pleasure talking with you. Thank you very much for your time. Highly appreciate it. And maybe one day we'll see each other on the ski slopes in Switzerland.
Would be my pleasure.
Thank you very much, Sonja.
Bye.
Have a good one. Take care.
That's all for today's episode, where we brought you some of the latest and greatest from the training, technology, and innovation worlds. Thanks for listening, and thanks to our guests for sharing their valuable insight with us. If you struggle to capture the knowledge of your experts, contact us. We'll record engaging interviews with them, for you to share. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our channel and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find us on YouTube or LinkedIn, where you can watch the full video of this interview and many others. This interview was made possible thanks to our colleagues Laura Servadio for the coordination of this interview and Patrice Sejalon for a powerful remote interview studio based on AI. Until next time, stay safe and stay insured. Cheers!